Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land Lord your God is giving you. That's Exodus 20, verse 12. And now, here's Reverend Sue.
Got joy in my soul. God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all is well. He's attacking every day, but I'm watching while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back.
Good evening, brothers and sisters, and thank you for joining us this evening. You're welcome to Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue. And I guess this evening is a very special person in my life. He's James Brooks, and James Brooks is a Washingtonian. He's a graduate of Catholic University and David Clark Law School here in Washington, D.C. He's an educator, and he has been doing a lot of work in the community in so many special ways as an educator, but as just a citizen, just a person who is concerned about so many things that are happening within our community. But another thing is that this is Older Americans Month. And because it's Older Americans Month, and the theme this year for 2023 is an opportunity to explore experiences, aging experiences, and discuss community to community as well as stereotypes. I asked Mr. Brooks to come on because he is a caregiver. And when I say stereotypes, when people see men caring for their loved ones, they do, and it has increased tremendously. We're going to talk about that. But basically, there are quite a few men. The percentage have gone up tremendously. So we want to break that stereotypes about men are not caring for their loved one, their parents or their mother, or there's more women doing it, but men are out here doing the same thing. So we're going to break that this month. So Mr. Brooks, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So you are a caregiver and you care for your mother.
Yes.
How long have you been caring for your mother, Mr. Brooks?
I've been caring for my mom since about she had her stroke since about, I'd say 2000, maybe since 2009, 2010. Yeah.
Right.
About 13 years.
So it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So you're the only one, you're the only child, which means that, yes, being the only child, you don't have a brother or sister to help you. So I would like to know from you as a man and have other responsibilities in your life. Your father, you're a busy person, you're doing a lot of things within the community. How do you manage that? And so you care for a mother, a woman, and you are a man. Is there times that you feel not really great of caring, doing certain personal things for your mom? How do you feel about that as a man caring for his mother?
Yeah, it is quite frustrating. My mom, as most elders, there's no thought of, at some point in life, there may be a sudden shock to the family in terms of, mom being disabled and you having to take care of her. She suffered a stroke and I was at work. My mom was very vibrant. She was the type of person that would come and pick my son up and during the summer months and have him out and hang out with them, take him to the museums. But of course, when the stroke came, all that changed. Everything kind of turned around. She was in a rehab center, rehabbing and learning how to adjust for a while. And while that was taken care of, I was taking care of her bills. So, and at this point, now I'm making sure that she's getting food because she can't, the stroke impacted her balance. Therefore, she can't stand up. So she really is unable to walk. And so she can't do things for herself in a lot of different ways, which a lot of elders may take for granted, where you just go up and down the steps. She can't go up and down the steps anymore. So to answer your question, having the burden of all of this is very, very tiring, but it's also a labor of love.
Another thing, Mr. Brooks, James, is that it is a labor of love. You care for your grandmother. So with that, you got an experience of caring for a loved one. So you know that it was going to be a challenge. It was going to be challenging, but yet you did it. You didn't walk away from it. So with that in mind, we have many, I said, baby boomers, and you're not a baby boomer. You're younger than, much younger than a baby boomer. But we have now baby boomers are older, and their children are looking at them, caring for their parents. How can you as a parent, where now you caring for your mother, how can you as a parent kind of teach your child, your son, about the importance of caring for the importance of caring for your parents as they age?
Sure. It was kind of eye-opening, the journey that you go through as a caregiver. This journey is one that you don't get rewards for, and no one really asks. A lot of times, are you tired? Even though sometimes you just drain, you just keep doing it. And with God's faith and blessing and His grace, you just keep moving. It's very challenging for me at times because sometimes I have to juggle so much to take care so many. Your point was well taken. I did take care of my grandmother. She passed away of cancer. And at that time, my mom was vibrant, moving around, like I said. And now here it is again. It's coming twofold with my mom. When you go into nursing homes that are sandwiched with rehabilitation centers, you kind of see a lot of the neglect that goes on for elders that are there that don't have loved ones to take care of them. And I think it's appreciative. I think when you have someone that comes to check in on you, even my grandmother and even my mom, when she was in the rehabilitation center, for me, was big on going and checking in and making sure that I'm up there on a constant, regular basis so they'll know that there's a presence up there.
Mm-hmm.
And pivoting to my son, what happens is even now, I incorporate him in what I do. He'll take out the trash. He'll empty out the trash cans. He'll bring up water because sometimes, she can't go downstairs. So her living situation is one where she has to get water brought up to her. So we'll bring, the water up to her, put the medicine in the medicine holder. And I make it my business to, midweek to always check in, go over and check on her, make sure everything's fine. Calling her, of course, I thought it was very important to get her technological savvy. So we transitioned from off of a regular home phone to a cell phone. That was kind of difficult because of the learning curve. A lot of elders aren't really particularly open to a lot of change, from the phone piece to the flip phone to the rotary phone, even from the phone booth. So, all of that is a transition, and that's still an ongoing learning process. So that kind of helped out.
Right. Now, Mr. Brooks, James Brooks, we're talking about stereotypes for the month of May. So I'm gonna say make a statement here. All elderly are not like that because we savvy, we deal with technology, we got classes that they teach and we get into it. So, and some still keep their house phone, like, ooh, I have a cell phone, I have a house phone. Yeah, we can't let the house phone go. But there's some that are actually into it, doing everything they possibly could do to do that. So just wanting that other people are fighting really hard to do these things and deal with the emails and post podcasts, watching YouTube, and then also YouTube, Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue on YouTube every Sunday at 6 p.m., right? So yes.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. So like May is Old America's Month and Aging Unbound, getting rid of the experiences that we have, the stereotypes that we're going to break this month. We're going to break it, Mr. Brooks. We started out with we breaking those stereotypes about elderly. Another thing is with the stress that you have in your responsibility or your job and raising your son. What have you taken any type of a caregiving group or seminar or just being with other caregivers or maybe a group counseling? Tell me about that.
No, never considered that. That is an option when you do this type of work. Like I said, it's a labor of love. It's a lot of things, you can't. Um, it's like rearing a kid. When you first have your kid, the kid doesn't come with an instruction manual. You kind of learn on the job. But let me go back to another point, and that is my mom is unique. My mom is one, not everyone, you're right, fit my mom's shoes or category. My mom is one that is definitely difficult to change, technological change, definitely. So I would preface that exclusively for my mom. But if there are others out there, I'm just throwing out their tea leaves that kind of could help out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking specifically about my mom. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with that being said, uh, yeah, I incorporate my son.
There are many organizations that provide classes for for your loved one as well as you as a caregiver. Perhaps some religious organization, perhaps your church, community, or within your community. I would also suggest that you take a look at that to call your office on aging, or every state has a state office on aging, and to do that and to kind of help you along the way. And don't be shy about asking for help, because sometimes you can't do it all. Have you crossed that? You knowing that you can't do it all, you're tired, but you don't reach out and say, let me call my buddy. Let me check on and see what they could do tomorrow. Perhaps they can take my mom to an appointment, a doctor's appointment, and let me do this. Have you tried that?
Well, I have, however, and I go back and I preface it to my mom. It's very difficult. I think one of the things that I think some of the elders may go through when they go through this experience is acceptance. Them to be reminded of why they're unable to do that. So I try to be very sensitive with that. So specifically with my mom, she's very particular who comes into her home. She's very particular about the people who she's around. My mom is somewhat set in her ways because remember, before all of this, she was very vibrant and she felt that she could do a lot of things on her own. She didn't need any assistance, and she very well didn't. But now, like I said, the acceptance piece of it is one of her getting out of the way in a lot of instances and letting a lot of resources that are out there help her um, still have a quality way of life.
Do you know other men who actually care for their parents now? Other brothers?
Wow, um, I haven't. To answer your question, no, I haven't. But I'm sure there are more people out there. I know
Men.
they
What
are.
about men today?
Oh, oh, definitely. You know what? I do. I know a guy who's taking care of his 94-year-old mom. I do. I sure do.
Yes.
And he takes her to doctor's appointments. And the funny thing about him is he's been kind of questioned, being, a grown man and he's still at home, but he's taking care of his mom. So it's not like he's staying home just hanging out, not working. He's basically there because his mom really needs his assistance. So we do share stories. We do share frustrations. So there's only one other person that I know, but like I said, I'm sure there are others out there.
So they're going back to the stereotype again, where this man is caring for his mother. He lives with her. They live together, so he's there
Yes,
with her. He's assisting her versus hiring someone to come in, or finding a program that will have people to come in on 24-hour service, which is very expensive most of the time.
right,
So now the society is saying, what's wrong with you, man? You still live with your mom, and your mom is 90 years old, and she needs services.
right,
Stereotype. We have to
right.
really understand our brothers and sisters that we got to stop stereotyping. We don't know their story. We don't know stories. So we have men caring for their parents. Then we say, okay, that's great. The percentage is going up more and more every day. When I started out in gerontology years ago as a gerontologist, I mean, it was about less than 8% of men caring for their parent. It was
Mm,
mostly women. But now you see men caring for their loved one, and for various reasons, But the men out here who are actually caring, and that's a good thing. And we have so many women and men. So that's the whole point. We're trying to educate our communities that We need to, and what you said, your son is doing little things, but what your son is really doing is going inside of him. I'm caring for my grandma. I'm helping my dad care for my grandma. And so it's our responsibility, I think, when we have those responsibilities, make sure that we talk to our kids about it. Make sure that we involve them. So now when you become old, your son would say, you know what? I'm going to help care for my father because I saw my
Agreed.
father care for his mother. That's
Agreed. And your point is well taken, Reverend Sue, because it's funny. My grandmother, I never really understood this. She was a old country lady from a place called Gulfport, Mississippi, and she was one that would travel anytime her relatives were ill or needed assistance. She would be there for them. And I remember my Uncle John, who was a doctor, excuse me, in Detroit, and he fell ill. And here's this old woman, really don't have a whole lot to her. She's telling me she doesn't even have a driver's license. So I'm driving Miss Daisy all the way up to Detroit to see how my Uncle John is doing, and she's taking care of him. So to your point, I think that was something that I probably learned from her, not really understanding back then why she was up there or why I had to drive her because she didn't want to get on public transportation and she was afraid of flying. So of course, like I said, I had to drive Miss Daisy to Detroit, Michigan to take care of my Uncle John and go back up and pick her up after a week and a half. And so that kind of taught me, I guess, and gave me insight along with God's mercy and strength to kind of get familiar with it. And again, when she got ill with cancer, taking care of her, and now here I am with my mom who just had a stroke. I was kind of familiar with this territory. Not that I wanted it, but
yes.
that will be done.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Brooks, we have many people listening to this broadcast today. What can you, and I know you're a church man, what can you tell churches? What can you tell leaders of churches about what we can do as far as educating our congregants about caring for their loved ones?
I think
Before it happens, before you get the phone call, before you get the text message, before you get the email, because we're going to get it. It's just a matter of time. So what can you tell us today?
Right. So, not that denominations mean anything, but I'm only going from my perspective, and from my perspective in being an AME person, or that being my denomination. One of the things in my church we call them the missionaries. And the missionaries would go out to make sure everything was, their job was to go out and make sure everything was, along with so much else, make sure everybody in the church were okay. Would sometimes go before the pastor, and then the pastor, of course, would come behind them, of course, maybe a day or two later. But specifically understanding the role that they had and still have, and how they kind of can triangulate to other pieces. I think the churches can probably have support groups, because one of the things that I learned, and I'm still learning along this journey, is that it's very expensive. It's very expensive to get third parties. You have to make a certain amount of money in order to qualify for certain services within your state. So to go beyond and away from all of the web of problems with that, having particular groups outside of your missionaries or your stewards or your deacons with your Baptists or circles, to get support groups where it may be a rotation, retired nurses, retired caregivers within the church, starting up groups and identifying members not only in the church, but within the community that could probably benefit with maybe 1 or 2 hours or something like that. Because sometimes, it's not a thing of staying a whole lot, but it's just checking in. So you don't have to actually be physical, but sometimes you can just do a phone call. Now, again, from my mother's standpoint, if she answers the phone, God bless you. But still, that shouldn't stop people, I think, from attempting to reach out and get these groups together to help those out there that really need it and could benefit from it.
And sometimes we have our members going to a church, to a home, and sitting with that person, then insurance come in.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like if you visit as a member, as your friend, and you know you're going to stop by and see, or if you call, that's a difference. But when you go visit, you checking on that person. It could be if you caring for that person, or if you move that person. There's certain things you do, you have to think about your liability as well.
Absolutely. But you know, it could be a something. It could be as simple as you're absolutely right about that. You're right. But the other thing that I think the benefit of it is too is that it kind of takes sometimes the strain and pressure off the caregiver. Like for example, if they
Definitely.
could call, so hey, we just came past and saw your mom. She's looking great. This, that, and other. It
Yes.
kind of saves me the burden of wondering if she's okay. Um, Still honoring her independence, but knowing that she's okay, with just a small little token of appreciation and love, just you know, a group or um, a designated group of members, or just people that have to be a part of the cloth circle that are
Mhm.
instrumental and helpful and have the sincere intent in participating and stuff like that for people that really need it. Because you know, insurance but goes only but so far, and we know that. But we do know that the labor of love and the care that we give to our elders as they are in their comfort, the best times of their years right now as they best can live, it's best to try to give them the, I would call it the best quality of life as you can with even small things like that.
An old fashioned way. You call and see if it's okay to stop by to
Yeah.
see to see sister. We can we stop by for a few minutes. You go in and say, "Hey, how you doing? We just here to say hi to you. What we maybe have lunch with you. Take the lunch with them. I mean, certain ways you can do it. You can do a lot. We can do a lot. We can do better.
We
I
can.
would say we can do better. And I'm
Yeah.
challenging all the list. We can do better as brothers and sisters, and
Yeah.
not forget our elders. Not forget our elders. So, with that in mind, we thank you for joining us today, and
Oh, thank you.
and continue to do what you do. But I would like to leave with you. A support group is important. Sharing some of the responsibility with others. And I know when we have parents, they want that same person there every day, and they want their child. Oh no, Miss Brooks is coming by. My child is coming by. I don't need you, but you need to rest as well. And thank you for taking the time to educate your son so he can give. He can give the same way you did your grandmother. You took her, and now you're doing your mother, and he's looking at you. And that's how we teach our from generation to generation, how to care for our family member, because only like 5% of our elders are in nursing home. That's a myth that we think all of them in nursing. That's not true. We are at home and we care for our families, which is very expensive as well. Because sometimes you have to take off. Sometimes you take a week off, then 2 weeks off. And sometimes people don't get paid for that. Depends on the job they have. So we thank you for you doing what you do and breaking the stereotypes. But this month, Older Americans Month, I'm bound. That's what we're about. God bless you, and say hi to your son, and we'll talk later.
God bless you, Reverend Sue. Thank you.
And our brothers and sisters, we thank you for joining us today. And remember that it's all about love. It's all about love and making sure that we do everything possible that we can do so our children and our family members will learn about how to care for our loved one. Because if it has not hit us today, it will be there. And thank God for us living longer, and that we live longer, then we might be in a situation as well. So continue to love one another. You've been listening to Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue. God bless you.